Today I'm going to talk about burners a little bit. It's not something I've had a lot to do with. I've had the odd small burner, but I thought I'd investigate it a little bit further. People have been talking about it and said, oh, you need one. You need a little bit of help to boost your signal and so on. So I thought, well, do you? Let's find out. We've got all this fancy test equipment here, and I've got a fancy signal generator, very complicated one, and it shouldn't be difficult for the signal generator to be set up to simulate a burner. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a signal generator and we're going to simulate a burner at different power outputs and see what effect it has. The receiver I'm using here is the Binatone Route 66 for no particular reason other than I happen to have one in the workshop. I've just been working on this particular one, which is in absolute mint condition, and so what better to use while it's here. We're going to set it up and simulate a burner. So the first thing we're going to do is set up our simulation of a CB radio on channel 20 pushing out 4 watts. Now you'll have to bear with me, this is going to get a bit complicated, but here we have a simulation of a CB radio putting out 4 watts. Obviously it's a long way away and it's putting out 4 watts, and the signal strength meter on the little Binatone is registering what? Just under 3. So there we have 4 watts at a distance, just under 3 on the Binatone. So the question now is, what happens if we switch on a burner? How's that signal going to be affected? We can turn this noise down, we don't need to hear it really. It's only going to distract from things. So, righto, let's see what happens if instead of 4 watts we double our power and we put out 8 watts. Right, we've now set it up to simulate a transmission from the same location, but this time we're putting out 8 watts. And as you can see, the signal strength meter on the little Binatone has gone up, and now it's just over the 3. So 8 watts, and we've gone up now from below the 3 to just over the 3. Okay, so we doubled our power. Let's double the power again now. Let's double the power to 16 watts and see what happens. Okay, we doubled the power again. So now we're pushing out 16 watts. So we've gone from 4 watts to 16 watts now. And what's it reading on the meter? Between the 3 and the 5. So we're now reading about 4. Signal strength 4, or as the popular CB term is, 4 pounds. Don't ask me why it's pounds, because I mean, to me it's just 4 on a meter, or signal strength 4, but CB is 4 pound. So that is 16 watts, and we're now gone from just under a 3 to a 4 by jumping from 4 watts to 16 watts. So it's a big increase in power from 4 watts to 16, but it's not made a huge difference on the meter. Okay, let's double the power again. Let's go to 32 watts and see what happens. Right, so now we're putting out the equivalent of 32 watts. I've got to watch I don't get confused with all this. We're putting out the equivalent of 32 watts, and it's now reading a 5 on the meter. So we've gone from just under a 3 at 4 watts to a 5 at 32 watts. So we've gained, with all that, we're going from 4 to 32 watts, and we've gained about 2 on the meter, which is not a lot, but that's it. That is what happens. So let's jump it up now. Let's go to 64 watts and see what happens. Right, we've now gone to 64 watts. And what's it reading on the meter? It's reading a 7. So we've gone up to a strength 7 now by going from 4 watts to 64 watts. We've jumped from a strength 3 to a strength 7, which is quite a good signal, isn't it? Strength 7 is quite a decent signal. Well, all that remains to be done is to double it again, and the next doubling will be 128 watts. Now, most people don't run 128 watts because it's getting a bit heavy on the ampage on your power supplies. But nevertheless, for the purpose of this test, we'll go now to 128 watts. Okay, well this is it, 128 watts. And where is the meter now? It's just under the 9. Just under the 9. So it's just an interesting demonstration that we've gone from a strength 3 at 4 watts, and by going all the way up to 128 watts, which is a lot of power, we're still under the 9. So I don't know what other people think about that, but I just find it interesting that upping the power doesn't make a huge lot of difference. I've been a believer myself that if you're going to increase your power, you've got to increase it by at least 10 to make it worthwhile. So if you're running 4 watts, then to make it worthwhile you've got to jump to 40 watts. And then to increase it again from 40 watts to make it worthwhile, you've got to go to 400 watts. And I think that is getting a bit impractical and difficult with CB equipment and the power supplies you'd need. That's my opinion. I think you need to jump up at least 10 times to get a decent improvement. And as you've seen, every time we double it, it's not made a vast improvement. And we've had to go from 4 watts to 128 watts to get a decent increase in signal strength. Thanks for watching.